Hello guys, welcome back. Now today, I'm ranking my top 5 prospects from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs have one of the deepest prospect pools in the entire NHL. But which of those prospects make my top 5, and who do I think is the best Toronto Maple Leafs prospect? Watch till the end to find out. While the Toronto Maple Leafs are one of the best teams in the NHL, they still have themselves quite a good prospect pool. In my opinion, a top 15 prospect pool in the NHL. It might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, again, are one of the deepest teams when it comes to prospect pools, and depth-wise, especially in their AHL system, are freaking nasty. Now, a fantastic example of that depth in their system, starting at number 5, and at number 5, I have Ian Scott, a goaltending prospect at age 20, 6'4", 183 pounds. He would play with the PA Raiders of the WHL last season, and will play with the Marlies next season. He's a Canadian-born guy, but has made a big impact in the past couple of years, and has a lot of potential around his name. Now, Ian Scott ended up playing 49 games in the WHL for the regular season last season, with the Prince Albert Raiders, had a 1.83 goals against average and a .932 save percentage. In the playoffs, he was a beast as well, playing 23 games, getting a 1.96 goals against average and a .925 save percentage. Played one game with the U20 World Juniors team of Team Canada. Nothing too special there. Didn't get the starting job. But when it comes to Ian Scott, he has a solid potential. Again, back in that 2017 draft, but probably in the first couple of months of eligibility. When it comes to Scott, he was looked at as one of the main goaltenders. Ended up dropping a little bit. But when it comes to Scott, this past season, he was fantastic in the WHL. And if he can sometimes maybe recoup that in the AHL system with the Marlies, I think he can be a great goaltender and likely the backup for Freddie Anderson. Now, of course, Toronto already has their long-term starter in Freddie Anderson, and that's fine. But it's never bad to have more goaltending depth, and Ian Scott does bring that. I think at the very least he can be a backup for a couple of years in the NHL, if that is the least for him. But I think he does have starter potential. Maybe if Freddie Anderson leaves, or maybe if he gets bad all of a sudden, I think Ian Scott can have some of those responsibilities. It might take a few years for that to happen, but I think he has the potential for the Maple Leafs. Moving on to my 4th best Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, and at number 4, I have Jeremy Bracco. He's a right-wing guy at age 22, 6'4", 5'9", 181 pounds with the Toronto Marlies. He's an American-born prospect, which always makes him a lot better in my opinion. But when it comes to Jeremy Bracco, he has been an absolute stud for the Marlies in the past couple of years, and has proved himself as a major power play quarterback that can be that at the NHL level. Last year in the AHL, he proved himself as one of the best AHL players, period. Last year, the Marlies ended up playing 75 games, getting 22 goals, 57 assists for 79 points. In the playoffs, the Marlies played 13 games, getting 4 goals, 12 assists for 16 points. So overall, he was just a fantastic offensive player in the past couple of years. And yes, obviously power play points do affect things, but he was a beast in that power play, quarterbacking it for the Toronto Marlies. And those type of point numbers do not lie. 79 points for a 21/22-year-old in that season. That's fantastic. And he'll prove himself as a top prospect probably next season. And also, I kind of forgot to mention that he finished 2nd in AHL scoring, which last time I checked is not bad whatsoever. Now, when it comes to most people's roster projections for Toronto, it doesn't seem like many have him making the lineup, which might be a good thing for his development. Again, he's 22 years of age. I think he can use maybe 1 year development to round out his overall skill, not just on the power play. But I think Bracco has more to prove still. To be the NHL player, with Toronto especially, it might take that next gear. And next year, I think we'll see him go in that next gear and be an absolute monster. Now, moving on to number 3, and for my 3rd best Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, I have Nicholas Robertson. He's a center/left-wing prospect, age 17, 5'9", 161 pounds. Played with the Peterborough Petes of the OHL this past season in his draft year, American-born prospect. But when it comes to Nicholas Robertson, he has such a fitting game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. A skilled guy, a short guy, but is so key offensively. And honestly, it's a match made in heaven, and you saw it if you watched him last year in the OHL. Now, this past season, with a pretty bad Pete's team, Nicholas Robertson ended up playing 54 games, getting 27 goals, 28 assists for 55 points. In the playoffs, played 5 games, getting 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. And when it comes to Nicholas Robertson, yes, the stats aren't the greatest, but he was not on a good Pete's team, did not get too much playing time. And when it comes to Nicholas Robertson in this past 2019 draft, he was one of the youngest players in the entire draft. And those stats are still pretty impressive, especially when you counter in the teammates there. And even without the stats, whatever it might be, I'm a huge fan of what Nicholas Robertson brings. A guy that, yes, is small, but brings so much offensive punch, and like his brother Jason Robertson, is an offensive dynamo. Now get this, in my final 2019 draft rankings, I had Nicholas Robertson as the 22nd best prospect, and Toronto got him at 53rd overall, with their first pick in the draft no less. So obviously, Toronto struck gold there, at least in my opinion. While he is a small guy, he will be a big impact player and a top 6 player in the NHL. I definitely think that. Now, moving on to number 2, and for the hard decision that I had to make, at number 2, I have Timothy Liljegren. Now, he's a defensive prospect at age 20, 6 foot, 192 pounds, with the Toronto Marlies this past season. Swedish-born guy as well. When it comes to Timothy Liljegren, he's been so fascinating to watch in these past couple of years, starting out in the AHL the year before last year. Now, this past season, took a little bit of a step back point production-wise, but I still think it's a fantastic prospect that since he took that step back, I think a lot of people are doubting right now. This past season, Liljegren ended up playing 43 games in the AHL, getting 3 goals, 12 assists for 15 points. In the playoffs, got 13 games played, 5 assists for 5 points overall. And yes, those stats aren't game-breaking, at least those stats compared to last year. But I still think he's a great prospect that was used a little bit weirdly in Toronto. Didn't get the greatest ice time either, didn't get the greatest role compared to what he did in that first year. It wasn't that big jump up that some people were expecting, including myself. But still, I still think he's a fantastic prospect, and even playing in the AHL from his age, which started at the year, was barely a 19-year-old, I still think he's a very impressive prospect that's done a lot up to this point. Obviously, taking that step back is a little bit worrying, but I think he will still be a top 4 guy for Toronto. I think a lot of people, because he took that step back, aren't considering him a top prospect anymore, and I can see why you do that, but for me personally, I just can't do that to myself, to say that Timothy Liljegren is not a top prospect, because in my opinion, he still is. Yes, he took that step back, but he still has excellent potential. I think at the very least, again, he will be a top 4 guy for Toronto. Yes, they do need that defense, and yes, they do need him now, but I think when it comes to progression, he might take a little bit slower than some people were expecting, but once he gets progressed, once he finally reaches that NHL level, I still think he'll be very, very good, and a lot of opposing offenses will be very scared of him. Now going on to number 1, in my opinion, the best Toronto Maple Leafs prospect in their system for 2019, and number 1, I have Rasmus Sandin. He is a defensive prospect at age 19. He is 5'11", 183 pounds. A Swedish-born prospect with the Toronto Marlies, same thing as Timothy Liljegren, but he kind of took the same progression path as Timothy Liljegren, if not better. Now, for his first year after the draft, he ended up playing in the AHL for an extended period, which, for any prospect, is a very weird occurrence, and a pretty good when it comes to Rasmus Sandin as a 19-year-old. He ended up playing 44 games with the Marlies, getting 6 goals, 22 assists for 28 points, more than Liljegren had in his first year in the AHL, and by quite a bit of margin, too. And in the playoffs, he also played 13 games, getting 10 assists for 10 points. With the U20 World Juniors with Team Sweden, ended up playing 5 games, getting 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points overall. And Sandin is the real deal. Liljegren is awesome too, but Rasmus Sandin took even more progression than Timothy Liljegren. A guy that we all thought in his first year took massive progression too. But Sandin at the start of the year wasn't pegged to be in the AHL. I think people were saying he was going to be in the SHL, whatever it might be. He was not looked as an AHL player, but he got back in training camp. He did that, he proved himself, and throughout the year just got better and better. And to me, the gap between Sandin and Liljegren is not too huge, but I think both prospects are absolutely fantastic ones. In my opinion, both prospects are top 15 defensive prospects. Both guys are absolutely fantastic, and I think will be top 4 guys in the NHL someday, and Toronto needs that kind of big news. If they're going to have top prospects, it might as well be defense, and they got that covered for the future. Liljegren and Sandin, I think, will be top 2 guys for them, potentially in the next 10 years, and both Swedish studs, you might as well have that going for you. Now, outside of that top 5, again, there are some fantastic other notable prospects to choose from. Guys like Adam Brooks, Mikko Kokkonen, Pierre Engvall, Joseph Woll, SDA, Dmytro Timashov, Mikhail Abramov, Emily Rastanen, Philip Kral, Nicholas Alberzizi. Honestly, there's a lot to choose from, again, for all positions. They're really, really good depth-wise and all around. While Toronto's team right now is not good whatsoever all around, obviously being high on the offense, their prospect pool is a different story. It's good all around, it's solid, and has a lot of guys that I think will be NHL players in the future. Now you guys already know, when it comes to the prospect videos that I've been making around the NHL teams in the past couple of weeks, I assigned an offensive, defensive, and goaltending rating from A+ all the way down to F. And Toronto, again with that solid prospect pool, does pretty well in all three categories. Now for offense, I gave them a B+. Now, Toronto I think has some great depth offensively, but not that superstar guy. I like Adam Brooks, I like obviously Jeremy Bracco, but I don't think those guys are going to be first liners or anything. I think they're going to be good players, but not that. And when it comes to the offense, they have a lot of depth guys, but not that superstar that you really like on that prospect pool. But the defense is that different story. I gave their defense an A-, and it's a little bit of an opposite because they have those top guys in Liljegren and Sandin, but not too much after that. Some decent guys like Cochran, but not too much after that either. But the goaltending is where they strike gold. In my opinion, they have an A+ goaltending rating with guys like Ian Scott and Joseph Woll, two fantastic goaltending prospects in my opinion. They're set themselves up for at least the backup position for the future and possibly a starter after Freddie Anderson. Now, some of you guys know already, Toronto is my fourth favorite team, and I like them quite a bit. But I'm not just saying their prospect pool is good because I'm a Leafs fan. I'm just saying they're good because they have a good prospect pool with a lot of depth to choose from, offensively, defensively, and goaltending-wise. They have a very enticing prospect pool, in my opinion, a slam dunk top 15 prospect pool, and some people will disagree with that, but I like the depth that they have. Some teams that, yes, can go away with stardom at the top and not a lot of depth, but Toronto has that depth and some stars too, and that's what I like most about it. But of course, with this video, I need to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So, let me know, what do you think about my top 5 Toronto Maple Leafs prospects? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know. And of course, the question on you, what are your top prospects for the Toronto Maple Leafs? But, if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video on my top 5 Montreal Canadiens prospects in their system right now. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my top 5 Toronto Maple Leafs prospects, what your top prospects are, and what you think of the prospect pool too. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.